My name is Robert Vasquez, 71 years old, and the moment my son called me old man and demanded I sign over my house was the same moment he learned that retired plumbers don't usually have the private cell numbers of FBI field directors. He slammed the quitclaim deed on my kitchen table, so hard my coffee mug jumped, and his wife Jennifer stood behind him with her arms crossed, already mentally redecorating my living room. What neither of them knew was that for the past 32 years, I hadn't been fixing toilets. I'd been installing listening devices in cartel safe houses across the Southwest as a deep cover intelligence asset. When your own son threatens you with a state nursing home, do you tell him the truth, or do you let the federal agents do it for you? Let me take you back to Tuesday morning when this nightmare began. I was sitting at my kitchen table in my modest 3-bedroom ranch house in Albuquerque's North Valley, the same house I bought in 1988 for $67,000. The neighborhood had changed. Young families moving in, old-timers like me staying put, property values climbing every year. Zillow estimated my house at $425,000 now, paid off completely, sitting on a half-acre lot with mature cottonwood trees and a view of the Sandia Mountains that tourists pay $300 a night to see from hotel windows. My son Derek, 42 years old, hadn't visited in 8 months. Hadn't called on my birthday. Hadn't checked in after my hip replacement surgery in March. But that Tuesday morning, his truck pulled into my driveway at 9 a.m. sharp, and he walked in without knocking, Jennifer trailing behind him in yoga pants and designer sunglasses that probably cost more than my monthly water bill. "Dad, we need to talk," Derek said, not even bothering with hello. He was wearing a polo shirt with his company logo, Vasquez Property Solutions, a house-flipping business he'd started 3 years ago with money I'd loaned him. $50,000 I never saw again. He sat down across from me, pulled a folder from under his arm, and spread papers across my table like he was serving a warrant. "What's this?" I asked, setting down my coffee. "Quitclaim deed," he said flatly. "You're signing the house over to me. Today." I stared at him. "Excuse me?" Jennifer stepped forward, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Robert, we've been talking, and we're worried about you. You're 71, you just had surgery, you're living alone in this big house. It's not safe anymore." "I'm fine," I said, my voice steady. "House is paid off. I've got my pension, my savings, my health insurance. I don't need help." Derek's jaw tightened. "You're not fine, old man. You fell last month. Mrs. Kowalski next door told Jennifer she heard you yelling for help in the backyard." "I tripped over the garden hose," I said. "I was yelling at the dog, not for help." "Doesn't matter," Derek snapped. "You're a liability. Sign the house over to me, and we'll make sure you're taken care of. There's a nice state-run facility in Rio Rancho. Clean, affordable, activities every day." I felt my blood pressure rising. "You want to put me in a nursing home so you can flip my house?" "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that." I leaned back in my chair, studying my son's face. When had he become this person? When had the kid I taught to ride a bike and build birdhouses turned into a man who'd warehouse his own father to make a quick $400,000? "Get out," I said quietly. Derek's face turned red. "You don't get it, do you? I'm trying to help you. You're old, you're alone. You're one bad fall away from dying in this house and rotting here for a week before anyone finds you." He jabbed his finger at the papers. "Sign the deed, or I'm filing for conservatorship. I've already talked to a lawyer. I'll have you declared mentally incompetent, and a judge will give me control anyway." Jennifer nodded, her expression sympathetic in that practiced way that made my skin crawl. "We're doing this because we love you, Robert. It's for your own good." I looked at both of them for a long moment. Then I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, an iPhone 14 Pro that Derek had mocked me for buying last year, saying old people didn't need fancy phones, and I pressed a contact labeled Tom M. "What are you doing?" Derek demanded. I held up one finger. The line rang twice. "Vasquez," came the voice on the other end. Calm, professional, instantly alert. "You okay?" "Tom, I need the package," I said, using the phrase we'd established 30 years ago. "My address. 20 minutes. Copy. Sending 3 units. Stay on the line." I set the phone on the table, speaker on. Derek and Jennifer stared at it like I'd just pulled a live grenade from my pocket. "Who the hell was that?" Derek asked, his voice cracking slightly. "An old friend," I said. "Dad, what did you do?" I didn't answer. I just sipped my coffee and waited. The silence in the kitchen was broken only by the ticking of the wall clock and the sound of Jennifer's nervous breathing. Derek kept looking at the phone, then at me, then at the door. Exactly 19 minutes later, 3 black Chevy Suburbans pulled up in front of my house, parking in a formation that blocked the entire street. My neighbors started coming out onto their porches. Derek went to the window, his face draining of color. "Dad, what the hell is this?" The front door opened. I never locked it during the day, and 6 people walked in. 5 wore tactical gear with FBI in yellow letters across their chests. The 6th was a man in his late 50s wearing a suit that cost more than Derek's truck, his silver hair cut military short, his posture radiating authority. "Robert," he said, extending his hand. I stood and shook it. "Tom, it's been a while." 3 years, Tom Mahoney said. He turned to Derek and Jennifer, who were pressed against the kitchen counter like cornered animals. "I'm Assistant Director Tom Mahoney, FBI Albuquerque Field Office. You must be Derek Vasquez." Derek's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Tom pulled a tablet from his briefcase, swiped it awake, and turned it toward Derek. "Let me show you something. This is a service record for Robert Vasquez, classified until about 10 minutes ago when I had it unsealed." He scrolled through pages of documents, redacted text, and photographs. "Your father wasn't just a plumber. From 1991 to 2023, he was a covert intelligence asset working for the FBI, DEA, and ATF. He installed surveillance equipment in high-value targets across New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and Colorado. Drug trafficking operations, money laundering networks, organized crime. 47 successful operations. 12 major cartel figures arrested because of intelligence he gathered." Jennifer made a choking sound. Derek looked like he might faint. Tom swiped to another page. "This house you're trying to steal? It's not just a house. It's been a safe house, a surveillance hub, and a meeting point for federal operations. The walls have reinforced steel plating. The basement has a secure communications room. That garden shed in the backyard? It's hardened against explosives. This property is valued by the federal government at $2.3 million, not including the tactical infrastructure." "That's impossible," Derek whispered. "Is it?" Tom gestured to one of the agents, who pulled a small device from her belt and swept it across the kitchen wall. It beeped steadily. "There are 17 listening devices still active in this house, Mr. Vasquez. Your entire conversation this morning was recorded and transmitted to our field office in real time, including the part where you threatened to have your father declared mentally incompetent and committed to a state facility against his will." Derek's legs gave out. He sat down hard in the chair, his face ashen. Tom turned to me. "Robert, do you want to press charges for attempted elder abuse, extortion, and fraud?" I looked at my son, really looked at him. I saw the fear, the shame, the desperate realization that he'd gambled everything on the wrong play. Part of me wanted to say yes. Part of me wanted to watch him get arrested in my kitchen, to see him learn the same lesson the cartel enforcers and money launderers had learned. You don't underestimate Robert Vasquez. But he was still my son. "No," I said quietly, "but I want him out of my house. And I want a restraining order. If he comes within 500 feet of me or this property, you arrest him." Tom nodded. "Done." He gestured to 2 agents. "Escort them out. Make sure they understand the terms." Derek stood on shaky legs. Jennifer was crying now, mascara running down her face. As they were led toward the door, Derek turned back. "Dad, I didn't know." "You didn't ask," I said. "You saw an old man you could exploit. You chose greed over family. That's on you." They were gone within minutes. The Suburbans pulled away. The neighbors went back inside, disappointed that nothing dramatic had happened. Tom stayed behind, pouring himself a cup of coffee from my pot like we were still partners running surveillance in some cartel stash house. "You could have told him years ago," Tom said. "Avoided all this." "Maybe." I sat down, suddenly feeling every one of my 71 years. But I wanted him to see me as just a dad. Just a regular guy. I didn't want him growing up scared, looking over his shoulder, thinking his father had a target on his back. He would have respected you. He should have respected me anyway. Tom nodded slowly. "Fair point." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "This is from the director. Official commendation, declassified service record, and a certificate of appreciation. Also a phone number if you ever need anything. Anything at all." I took the envelope but didn't open it. "I'm retired, Tom. I'm done." "I know. But the offer stands." He finished his coffee, rinsed the mug in my sink, old habits, and headed for the door. He paused, hand on the frame. For what it's worth, Robert, you're one of the best assets I ever worked with. A lot of people are alive today because of you. Don't let your son make you forget that. After he left, I sat alone in my kitchen. The house felt bigger somehow, emptier. I thought about calling my daughter Maria in Denver, but decided against it. She had her own life, her own family. She called every Sunday like clockwork, asked how I was doing, sent photos of the grandkids. She'd never once asked me for money or property or anything except my time. I opened the envelope Tom had left. Inside was a letter on FBI letterhead, signed by the director himself, thanking me for 32 years of service. There was also a photograph I hadn't seen in decades. Me in 1993, standing in front of a stash house in El Paso, giving a thumbs up to the camera. I looked young, strong, fearless. The kind of man who could walk into a cartel operation with nothing but a toolbox and a wire, knowing one wrong move meant a shallow grave in the desert. That man was still in here somewhere. 3 days later, the restraining order was official. Derek tried calling from different numbers, leaving voicemails that started with apologies and ended with excuses. I deleted every one. Jennifer sent a letter claiming they'd been under financial stress, that it wasn't personal, that they loved me. I burned it in the fireplace. 2 weeks after that, I got a call from a real estate agent. Derek had listed his house-flipping business for sale, declaring bankruptcy. The business collapsed within a month. I heard through Maria that Derek and Jennifer had separated, that he'd moved into a studio apartment in the South Valley, that he was working construction for $18 an hour. I felt nothing. 6 months later, I was having breakfast when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Derek standing on my porch, thinner than I remembered, wearing work boots and a dusty shirt. His truck in the driveway was 10 years old, primer patches on the doors. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he said immediately, hands up. I needed to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because I got caught. Because I was wrong. I studied him. Looked for the con, the angle, the manipulation. Saw only exhaustion and regret. "You threatened to put me in a home so you could sell my house," I said quietly. "You called me an old man like I was garbage. You brought lawyers and paperwork and tried to steal the only thing I have left. I know. You're my son. I gave you everything. And you saw me as a mark. I know." His voice cracked. "I've been going to therapy, trying to figure out how I became that person. And I don't have a good answer except that I was greedy and stupid, and I convinced myself it was justified." He wiped his eyes. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry, and that I'm trying to be better." I stood there for a long time, watching my son cry on my front porch. The man who'd tried to institutionalize me. The boy I'd taught to throw a curveball. "Therapy's a good start," I said finally. "Keep going. Get yourself right. And maybe in a few years we can talk again." He nodded, understanding the dismissal. He turned to leave, then paused. "Dad, what you did, the FBI stuff, that's incredible. I wish I'd known. You should have respected me anyway," I said, echoing what I'd told Tom. "I know." I watched him drive away. Didn't wave. Didn't smile. Just closed the door and went back to my breakfast. Today, I'm still in my house. Still living alone. Still fixing things that break and working in my garden. Maria visits twice a year with the grandkids. Tom calls every few months to check in. Derek sends a card on my birthday now. No phone calls, no visits, just a card with a simple "thinking of you" inside. Maybe someday I'll answer. But for now, I'm the old man in the North Valley with the paid-off house and the view of the Sandias. The neighbors think I'm a retired plumber. The FBI knows I'm a legend. And my son learned the hardest lesson of his life. Never underestimate the old man at the kitchen table. Because sometimes that old man has the FBI on speed dial.